or less energy when they move from the place where you actually encountered them?
I think in most objects, the energy level or the energy activity decreases over time. If it's not getting anything to feed off, it just loses its power, same as a battery does. It will lose its power. If you've got something that's being generated from a lot of malevolence, a lot of dark energy, for instance, the two in the cases there, they'll continue to be strong because whatever is it's inhabiting them is very powerful. And in the case of this, with all this energy in this building, it's keeping them even stronger. And they'll probably actually be more active over the next couple of days now because they're feeding off everybody's energy here.
But do you find that you have more activity around those now they've moved from the place than you did when they were in the place where you encountered them?
I think when certainly with Sophia, I mean, she'd been found on a patient's floor, a patient room floor, I don't know how many decades she'd been lying there, so most of the energy would have been literally down to zero. Because I've brought Sophia into an energy field, obviously bringing it into my house, I've got family, I've got friends that start to draw off the energy. And likewise, it's drawn off the energy from the other haunted objects I've got in the house. So this is why Sophia is actually more stronger now than she's probably ever been. Whereas the Harry the Teddy, he's always been strong because of the nature of where he came from. I think it depends on, you've got to research the object and see what its background is. Obviously, in the case of the monk, that monk was purely entirely connected to the rosary, possibly was the monk's rosary. So removing the rosary, there's no more apparition of the monk, and there's no energy left in the rosary, there's nothing to tie it, nothing to feed off. Whereas the teddies and the dolls, for some reason I haven't concluded why, children's toys seem to harbour energy a lot longer than other objects.
But like with the rosary beads, if you're talking about, would the apparitions start again?
I strongly believe they would, because you're putting it back in its original position, back to its original destination. Whereas on the second hand, if I took Sophia back and put her back in the empty patient room, I think her negative energy levels would just disappear, because there's nothing to feed off. Whereas the rosary, it was a continuous feeding, because obviously there was tourists in, visiting the abbey every day, so that the monk was generating its energy from the tourists and the people who ran the abbey. Obviously I've taken the rosary out of that situation and it's lost its energy now. So I think it really depends on what the object's background is. If it's just a, I wouldn't say a residual one, but if it was related to say like an apparition or a ghostly figure, something that's not malevolent, it's not dark, it's not causing any problems, then yeah, I think if you put it back where its original location was, I'm quite sure it would retain its energy or start building its energy up again. Whereas the dolls, it's a different situation. And it's a difficult thing to judge because, like the Teddy at the edge of here, we still haven't concluded the full history of this Teddy, why it's active, where its history came from. We just know there's been a lot of activity in the home where the doll came from. Parents were quick enough to ask me to get rid of it. I still haven't deciphered the history yet behind this doll. I do know, because I've had people check it and psychically clean it, it's not active, there's very little energy in it, so it's easy enough to leave it sitting out. But if you compare that doll, which is, it's fairly new, compared to Sophia, dates back decades, and there's a totally difference in energy levels. Obviously the yellow teddy, I don't believe had any traumatic background to it, anything dark. That's why it's lost its energy so quick. Whereas Sophia came from a traumatic background. It was ownership of a female patient who was murdered, so there was a lot of negativity there. And then obviously the patients who had died after that. So I think that, I don't like using the word evil, but you know, in a sense that evil has followed it through all these decades. I think that's why it's still a very active object. And I do believe it's around people and draws off their energies. Whether you're skeptical, it does draw off energies. I think that if you are psychically tuned or your vibrational levels much higher than the rest of us, you'll feel the effects of that doll very quickly. Likewise, Harry's the same. People feel something coming off the doll even without touching it. It just seems to have that type of psychic draw towards you. I mean, every case is different, every case is unique. You know, I'd say only about 80% of my cases, I can actually say I know what the cause is and why it's done it. You know, the other 20% I've just no clue. I just keep it locked away for safety. So it's, again, you know, haunted collections, demonology is still a fairly untapped specialisation. Not everybody really knows what goes on behind it and how to deal with it. There's no scientific explanation or any proof methods for how to deal with these objects. As long as you know how to protect yourself and don't pass it on to people who don't know what they're doing, then at least you're society at rest, I suppose. Anybody else?
Would you advise not to take haunted?
Yeah, I would say don't take any haunted items.
Now, only because of activity in your own house and around people.
Yeah, I mean, if someone says to you, this item's haunted, I suppose you've got to put your trust in them that it is haunted. You know, I could be just as sceptic as everybody else, saying, oh, those things aren't haunted. You know, that's fine, you know, everybody's own belief, but if you have that sensation that you can feel and draw off the object and you feel there is something coming from that object, that's fine, it enhances your belief that object is haunted. You know, haunted objects, it's a guessing game. Unless you're actually there, investigating it, seeing the carnage that it causes, then you can say, yeah, that definitely came from a situation that was bad, and yes, that presence or that entity is definitely an object. That's fine. If someone's just saying that to you, it's your work against theirs. But certainly if every approach you said, this object's haunted, do you want it? Well, I'd probably say no, just for safety. You know what happened to Annabelle? Yeah. I was doing an investigation not that long ago. I played at a small community called Priest Hill in Glasgow. And the actual house itself has had a lot of activity. There's been dark shadows, basically bodiless heads, if you can say that, the bottom of the staircase. A lot of strange activity going on in the premises. That family moved out, the next door neighbours started getting it. Even though the house hasn't been reoccupied yet, the next door neighbours are now experiencing it. So I think it depends on the land rather than the actual house. I do believe most hauntings is based on the location rather than actual current premises. You know, some people say, oh, this building's only 20 years old, how can this be haunted? No, it's more likely to be the grounds that has the residual haunting rather than the actual building. So yeah, it can move from building to building. It doesn't have to be centralised in one area. I've actually seen that in a university. It's actually gone from one block through the whole university. One ghost. Anything else? No.
If the team was to use a toy as a paranormal object, as trigger object, would the team be better off to use a different trigger object each investigation, or would more than one entity or spirit attach itself to that toy?
Well, I think if you're using a trigger object, say you're using a teddy, in one investigation. If you believe strongly that you've had no results at all, then I would say fine, reuse it in a different location. If you have any type of experience with its cold spots, temperature rising, movements, anything at all, yeah, just keep that for the one investigation, because you can transfer energies or entities. Because I think entities in some ways it's like hosts, they jump from one location to another, whether it's through people, whether it's through objects.
What would be the best way then, if you did get something with one object, how would we dispose of the object? What would we have to do with it?
No, I'd keep it locked away. I'm not a believer in destroying objects that you believe may be wanted or maybe something's attached to it. I think it's too dangerous to destroy it because you can release it, you can basically annoy it, it's off, you know. So if you've got something you know or you believe is haunted or it's got something attached to it, seal it up, get it protected, get it locked away somewhere, put it in a museum. But I wouldn't destroy it.
Right.
And I say to everybody, don't use Ouija boards. You can't have a good one, but don't come to me. You feel free to come up when you're ready and get a closer look. Don't suggest you touch him, but it seems to be feeling off a Harry. You seem to be quite active at the moment. Any other questions?
You said about Ouija boards there, sorry.
Yes.
So you believe those to be in anything, the Ouija boards, just by the way you're
I mean, spirit boards, Ouija boards, they're not just board games. They were created as a board game. Came to a point nowadays when Ouija boards can be made of pieces of paper now, in a glass tumbler. Still works, it's the actual method of communication that spirits recognise.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be an official Ouija board, it could be handmade, anything at all. But spirits, I believe, still recognise that as being like the doorway to communication. So if they see that, if you're trying to communicate, they will still come through to you.
You said different then, as with regards to the dangers and different during sleep boxes. I suppose it's the same thing.
To be honest, I might be all right. I mean, if you're
It's the same thing
if you're
as
a spirit box, you're still communicating, you're still inviting it to come through the sense of Ouija board.
There's a lot of people don't like, oh no, Ouija boards, no.
I think Ouija boards has got more of a myth behind it.
Yeah.
Ouija boards nowadays is just the same as using EVPs, spirit boxes.
No, that's my opinion as well. A lot of people think that.
Basically, you used to go to a location you believe is haunted, and you try to invoke something vocally, it still communicate with you. There's a slap in the face or throw stones, it will communicate. It's not going to be through a spirit board or EVP or anything. But I think Ouija boards have just become more glamorised for Hollywood, to be honest.
I agree.
Certainly, right back in Victorian times, it was the highlight of spiritualism. Which I'm a big believer of the spiritualism movement. So, I think they didn't know what they were doing back then, so it was a lot of early day hauntings. Anything else?
Most paranormal investigators are always after what we call ultimate evidence to prove to skeptics. Would you say if you locked every haunted item you've got in a room and just let it loose, do you think you would get that possible ultimate evidence? If you gave it some kind of energy as well, would that happen, or would it, do you think?
Well, I think if I put all my 47 haunted objects in one room, unsealed, and left some camcorders, spirit boxes, whatever you want, left all your content safe for a 24-hour period, I'm 95% sure you'll get some evidence. Because there's such a mix from all the objects that I've got. Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking if you did that, because I always say it's proving that next thing to skeptics, to prove to people who have got no belief whatsoever that there is something else. Because every paranormal investigator wants that, to prove to somebody else that, look, there's nothing that can prove what happened. There's no scientific explanation. This is what's happening in the room. It's a teddy like walks across the room and you've got everything covering it. There's no way of explaining it. And I just think if you've got that item that will just do that, it's the perfect evidence.
I mean, it's been discussed before, the idea's been mentioned to me before, we're doing that, I've just not been too keen on trying.
Yeah,
I think that's just sitting off a label,
yeah.
having all those objects unleashed. Well, I've never seen Puppet Master. No, I think, you know, that amount of haunted objects will release a lot of energy. Whether it's, you know, pure negative energy or it's conflicted energy. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's worth a try if you want to try it. I mean, I look into demonology and, you know, I try not to talk about demonology so much. I'm not anywhere near the calibre of people like John Zaffis or any of these well-known celebs. You know, most of what I do is go to the more darker house hauntings. So somebody comes to me with like, well, I saw a ghost out in the garden, that's fine, there's a team for you to go and investigate. I've got nothing to do with that. You know, ghosts in hotels, I'm not interested. Someone says to me, I've fallen down the stairs in my house and mirrors have been smashed, that's fine, I'll come in. I'll investigate that. I don't want to get battered. I've protected myself enough, and if it's a really bad case, I'll get some help in at the last minute. But again, it's not a scientific subject. You know, you've got to get your mind open. You experience in a way what you want to experience. You know, I think in a way, if it is a malevolent entity or a malevolent force, if it suspects that you're wanting evidence, it will soon show you evidence. And if it feels you're a threat, which most times it does, that will make sure it, you know, it gets rid of you. It depends how you approach it. Always approach with dignity, with respect. You don't know what you're dealing with. It could just be a physical spirit. It could be, you know, a demon of the hierarchy. You don't know what you're dealing with. So just got to be careful.
When you deal with spirits, do you? Some people say to me, always go in with respect, like you've just said. But say they do something to you, should you, like you would a human, basically treat them on the same level as they're treating you, or would you still be nice, or would you change the game basically?
Yeah, well, I'd step up the game a wee bit and challenge it then. You know, if I'm getting into a case and I start getting scratch marks, bite marks, someone's pushing me, I'll say that's fine. I know you're here. You know, what is it you're doing? Why are you here? What is it you're wanting? I start challenging it with questions. If it still tries to attack me physically, I know I'm dealing with someone who's too powerful. And then I have to explain to whoever I'm investigating this, you know, I need to come back with more help. I don't push further on my own because it's too dangerous.
Any cases where somebody's been sent to negative energy?
Sorry, what was that?
Have you had any cases where somebody's been sent a negative energy and attached itself? So I've got first time thing about teddy bear. Something was sent to me, and it's called that elemental. Attach yourself to a teddy bear sort of breathing and heartbeat.
I was in the case.
That's any like that.
I've not investigated then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Found the cause. It was sent from police, not far from here, from Wiltshire Coven. And they asked them crew, scratch bit, you know.
One of our colleagues was sent an item again from something similar, which is Carlton's, one of the vaults in Edinburgh is actually a witch, modern day coven still practices, and they sent him some object because he was basically nasty to one of our members, and sure enough, in a lot of bad luck for months after that.
Yeah.
Whether it's a curse or a spell, I don't know. I managed to sort it, but that's what the closest I came to it. I do believe that, you know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so once to get rid of it. It's causing that much negative energy. It was turning me into a wife and kids. It was bad. But yeah, fine for it.
A lot of these things do work on the mental psyche. You know, you don't realise you're doing it
Yeah.
a lot of times.
And everyone touched the teddy bear. I mean, it's just normal.
Yeah.
Cross our teddy bear. Everyone touched it. It became an MGFM. So the more you touch it, the more it became. So yeah, totally.
Again,